Okay, hey everybody, so I'm back here. Now, I've recorded some other stuff. I'm not sure if I'm going to upload it or not, but since last video, I've been working more on the item JSON render system to render guns more effectively, but other items as well. The main focus, of course, is on getting the armory mod up and running with all the new things we're working on. But the render code being developed is fully functional for just about anything. Things I worked on between last video and now is I added metadata handling, render pass handling. I separated out the texture and model rendering in the item JSON system. So now if it doesn't have a model, it's marked as a texture only object. If it does have a model, it's of course loaded with a model. There also is now a parent system, so you can actually parent model systems. So instead of having to recode your entire model in your JSON, which let me drag this over here. So in this exact case right here, so we have our render code for our item entity in order to actually tell the system how we want to render our item. But if we want to just modify it slightly, we just go, okay, our parent is this class. So we render exactly like this, but then we do our overrides. In this case, we're telling it, I don't want to render anything but group 4 and 5. In this case, we're rendering everything. In this case, we're only rendering 2 out of, I think, the 5 components that are actually in this model. I'll show that off here in a second if it's functional correctly. Of course, it has been acting up because I've been going through and modifying the render system, making it function better. Another thing I removed is there's no longer an ID system for renders. It is now entirely a string-based system. So you can't pass an integer 0 and get a render back. You have to pass in an actual name. In the case of render 0 used to be the inventory, it is now item.inventory. And if you look at this, we actually have a rocket launcher. Now let's see if this is working. Yeah, this is working correctly, so it isn't noting its thing. Another addition is that this now tracks the render ID and 2 different render keys. Render keys are appended to a prefix. So in the case of render S and E, these are actually unique to the gun. Everything does have a render S, but not everything has that render E. That is an entity-based render where it is telling me what my ID is because I'm a player. It has a different ID set. In this case, these both should have been the same, but there's a bug I'm still working out, and these will only show up in debug mode. When it comes to the thing where I was talking about prefixing, so it says gun clip none. This will be prefixed by item.inventory.gun.clip.none. And if we actually open up our system here, you'll see that there is actually things for this. This is item entity.gunEmpty, and when I toss these out, if this was empty, it would actually render properly. Now I have a video, by the way, showing me making this. This is where I was talking about. I'm not sure if I'm going to upload it. That video was recorded without a microphone because I did it at 4 in the morning. And after a while, I kind of broke things, and I kind of really stopped explaining what I was doing via text, and it was just an hour of me just trying to fix things. So that's the reason why that video hasn't been uploaded. But if we actually use this, let me go ahead and chuck out some rounds here, and we'll fire it. You'll see it actually updated my model. The model does work in all different directions. It renders really, really well. If I drop it, it'll actually render properly here. If I pick it back up, of course it's going to continue reloading here, but it's going to tell me like, hey, I couldn't find any reload things. There's another bug I actually do have to fix, and we're going to take care of that and a few other things in this video. Wow, that is literally going to infinite loop. Let's see if I can fix that. So let's close out everything but this. Close others. And then we're going to open up the gun instance. One of the things I actually was trying to work on is sighting a weapon. If you hit right click, it's actually supposed to sight the weapon, but right now what it's doing is not what it's supposed to be doing. I need to get a button ID system for this. Instead of passing an integer, I need to pass in like an enum value. We're not going to screw with that right now because that's just going to be a pain in the butt to do. We'll just go to the super method real quick, and yeah, I can go from here. 0 is left, 1 is right, 2 is scroll wheel. Okay, 2 is how we're doing our reload code right now, and here's our sight code. This does need more work. I actually don't need the to-do on this one because it sights properly. Probably need a delay on here. I could do and force it so that you have to hold down right click. That actually is not a horrible idea. Yeah, we'll just do it this way. Gun dot is sighted equals state. We'll reload that real quick. We'll see if we get any kind of reaction out of this. No ammo of that type, no ammo. So what is it doing? That's like when I was holding down right click, it was just infinitely. So we need to figure out why our reload code is continuously running. That's somewhere in here is what it is. So this is do reload. Gun.reload should be canceling it out. Might be this is what's going on. Gun.doReload equals false. Because if this answers false on this case, what this should do is cancel our reload action, but it's still ticking it for some reason. I don't know why this is even checking this. It's assumed we have a player because anytime this is passed in, this is always an entity player instance. There'll probably be separate code to handle things like skeletons and stuff like that. But let's see. Okay. Do reload, and then we just pretty much just do this. If gun.doReload is still true, then we finish it off. Okay. Maybe, hopefully, that'll fix it. No, it's still running. Wow. Now it's just spamming it. Let me type some stuff. Wow. Yeah, okay. And this, I believe I need to do gun.reload delay equals -1. Maybe that's what it needs. We're going to ditch this gun, because as soon as I ditch that, that should stop the debug spam. It does. Okay. And then we'll get a new gun here. By the way, I broke the default renders. And actually, let me rephrase this. I removed the default renders, so I actually broke the render on those two guns. They need to be re-implemented here later. Oh, no, it's just going to constantly just tell me it needs to reload now. Okay, so this goes do reload needs to true. It comes down here. It's gun.reload delay, which should start up. Oh, what? You know, that could be the bug. So let's ditch this. Pick a new gun up. Type in. No, we're still getting. Let me put something else in that slot. Oh shit, it's gonna still spam that out. So what is basically being called is at some point when it goes to actually do its reload action. So we're gonna put a debug line here, and we're gonna follow this through to see why it's spamming. So we're doing reload. We're gonna stop our sighting. We're at -1. We have nothing to reload, so it's gonna set to false. It's gonna set to -1 again. It should then skip. So like if you're looking at that code running right there, it didn't call reload once in there. Actually, no, it calls reload down here. So that's ticking reload every single time. Okay. Ah, I see what we're missing here. It's this spot right here is what's going on. So what I was assuming is that this was a left click call, so I was going else if you were holding left click. So left click contains, so that means I actually need to do this, put this on the outside. Then if we don't have ammo, then we want to call reload. So I'm going to go gun, we're going to go gun dot do reload equals true, and we go left click held dot remove entity. So if we left click and we're holding left click down, this is going to remove us from left click and it's going to automatically go, okay, you need to, we're reloading, therefore you're no longer left clicking. So as soon as we reload and it somehow didn't clear that left click off, we don't shoot at as soon as we reload. I probably could do something else there too, to say like, hey, please release the left trigger to reload. Okay, so spam stopped. Cool, that fixed that. Then if we left click, it's now going to reload. It should have reloaded. Why is it not? Okay, so gun sight. So we're going to put a debug line there. And we're going to click. Okay. I need to find my debug. There we go. Cool. Cool. So we're on reload cycle. Why did we skip over do tick? Why did we skip over do tick for? Okay, so we're there. Hit play. Okay, there we go. We're on reload. Okay. Okay, so that sets our timer. Our reload timer delay is 200 ticks, which is 10 seconds. This should be ticking off our thing. Okay, so that's going to continuously tick. And at some point, it should run this code. What's weird is it wasn't... Let me go back here. Did I mess something up? No. Oh, we're having a problem with gun stack matching. This is a bug that seems to want to reoccur every so often, of where it's wanting to save information. Yeah. You know it's not happening properly. Let me pause this real quick so it stops spamming at least. It's saving the sighted weapon. So that's really, really stupid is that the check exists, that every single time it goes to grab the weapon for the player, it ensures that the weapon you're holding is the weapon you were holding the last tick, in case for some reason the weapon changes or you switch inventory slots or something. The problem with that is as soon as you save something to the MBT stack, it's no longer the same weapon, according to the system. And the reason is right here. And that means I need to do something like this. So we're not going to save this, is what we're going to do. That does mean I need to adjust some code here in a bit, because it'll crash if I don't, but we should be able to run this now, and it should stop being stupid. I did not actually want to run that. I want to run this one, though. Go find that code that's going to error out. Yes, reload changes. Debugger is what I actually wanted it to hit play on. Cool, that seems to have fixed the issue. And this crashed like I thought it was going to crash. So there's a save system check here to make sure that every time we call save, it's saving appropriately. I just removed that line so that it's no longer saving the cited thing, so therefore the NIMBT check does not need a check for it anymore. That'll fix that from breaking next time we go to launch Minecraft. Cool. Of course, there's no actual render for cited, even though I'm pretty sure we actually are cited. But what were we testing before this broke? Oh yeah, we were testing to see if it'll reload. There we go. It's reloading now. So yeah, if the gun stacks don't match each other, it's gonna break. It'll break just about everything. So it's important to note anytime you modify the gun, I mean you modify for any reason whatsoever, you have to save it back to the player's inventory. I mean in this case, I could have done it so that way when you sighted the weapon, it actually saved the stack to your thing, but then I'm like, there's no reason for us to actually save if a weapon's sighted or not, because as soon as you change inventory slots, like if you switch from weapon 1 to 2, it should auto decite anyway. So the sighted system is an active weapon only check. And of course this hit reload, by the way, so if we hit play, it'll reload my weapon. There we go, we got an RPG, we fire. Of course we shot our feet with that. By the way, the thing to note with the RPG, this is an entity-based round, unlike the handguns, which are ray trace-based. So if there's something in front of you that it'll hit, it will hit it. This works out really well too. Speaking of which, this does use the ICBM's explosive code, so you can tell this to like do antimatter, whatever. In this case, this is an RPG for a client, and he wants a TNT type explosion, and that blew up midair for some reason. There's quite a bit of things I'm going to have to work on for these. There's a collision check system I can work on. It does work. Client also wants a special block damage system too, so he can make walls that take damage but don't instantly break. It's going to be interesting. But yeah, this works. And if you notice, the head de-renders, the system does support, as I noted already, an empty version. It's got 4 tags checks. It's got has round chambered, has clip, has an empty clip inserted with no round, and then it's completely empty. Completely empty means you have no round in the gun, so there's an actual chamber system. For those of you who are not familiar with handguns, when you load a clip into a handgun, it's not loaded. You've just put a clip in there. You have to then pull the slide back, which then chambers a round. So it puts a round in the barrel, so that way when you pull the trigger, it fires a round, and then when that slides back, another round is put into the chamber automatically. So your semi-auto and your automatic weapons will auto-chamber. Not all weapons auto-chamber, like revolvers need to be chambered when you pull back the hammer. There are handguns that need to be pulled back with a hammer as well to chamber things and other things like that. Henry's repeating rifles and Winchesters both have to be primed every single time you fire them. So when you pull that cocking lever on the bottom that's everybody's seen in movies, that is not only cocking the hammer on the gun, it is actually loading a round into the weapon at the same time. There's a lot of different things, like various guns have different various things, and this system will eventually support actual loading animation for those who are actually going to ask. Right now, we're pretty much just doing, it disappears render-wise. There are to-do marks in the code to say animation. There are notes that I need to put audio on here. Like when I go to fire this, there needs to be audio. Ejecting of casings is already supported for those who will ask. Right now, the guns I'm working on for the client, he hasn't specified he wants casings to survive, so therefore I haven't made casings for him. We do have the textures for him though, so they are functional. But all his recipes require, or all his recipes make full ammo, so I haven't bothered to make casings for his stuff anyways. Yeah, this does work pretty well. I'm actually kind of impressed how well this works. I'm considering when this goes to reload, having an angle down. There was a bug earlier where I had it angled down by mistake, and I'm considering just going ahead and doing that again because it looked really nice. Really easy code to do, by the way. All I have to do is go in here and see if I can find it. The equipped already does the downward part, because if we go to equipped, we're actually angling down. This is where I was working on the aim thing, where if you hold right click, it'll actually aim, but it doesn't set the item in use properly. Let me check this. So if we do on update, Oh, I'm in the gun instance. I'm looking around for code that isn't there. So this is what we're looking for. Of course, that's going to activate automatically. So we want this part. And of course, I need to hit play. Okay. So if I hold right click, yeah, it does work. So it does set our item in use. And if we go down, it does set our item stack in use. Sets it to max value. It then sets the entity tracker with an animation. Oh wait, doesn't set the enemy tracker? Oh, that's for eating apparently. Ah, that's right, because our item in use setting is not going to activate properly, so this isn't going to work regardless. We're going to have to make code to make this function. So I need... One, this is going to get more complicated. Two, it's going to be ugly. So I hit play here real quick. I want to hit save and quit, so I save my map currently. If you exit too many times, Forge will actually break and delete your map. It sucks, but it does it. So what I want to do is there's an item use thing here where it actually does the check for is cited. We actually are not saving our cited condition. So that's something that isn't going to work anyways. So we got to figure out how to do this. We could do if stack equals current stack. Let's see what the usage is on this. So it is a blocking check. We could actually use that and then use that as our render call, but I'm pretty sure that'll make our gun render all bizarre. There's a set item in use check, and then here's this one, which is what I believe is actually called. So yeah, there's render first person and stuff in here. So if eating and drinking, okay. Let's go take a look at a bow. So item bow is what we're trying to mimic its behavior. So do this real quick so I can just hit Control B to go there. So their on player stop using is how they fire the bow. I actually need to mimic this code here later, so bows are something you can make with the armory mod. On eaten, return true, get max uses, get usage is bow. We could just return bow, so every time you're holding right click it actually sights the weapon. On item right click, we set the thing in use. Yeah, we could just return bow and this should work actually. So we're going to get rid of this and we're just going to return bow. Because if we set the item in use and we're controlling that in usage setting, then we could just do that. So where's bow at? Look over real quick. Yeah, so there's nothing in here. The only important code is this right here, which does an arrow notched event, so you can cancel the bow being notched. It then does a creative mode check, and then when you right click, it consumes the arrow. And then it's supposed to set the sets the item in use right here. Oh wait, it doesn't consume the arrow here. It just goes okay. If we're creative mode, ignore. If then has arrow. It's got enchantability. We're going to enchant the guns eventually. That's going to be something that's supported. The enchantments will be pretty restrictive because they'll have to be unique to the weapons. Because if you put something like Bane of Arthropod or however you do the Spider Bane thing, it doesn't exactly make sense that it would be exactly the same as a sword, because it would have to enchant the bullets, which means it would be a different enchantment, at least in name. In functionality, to work the same. If it's a spider and you hit it, it does more damage. I might make people have to enchant the bullets, and then the guns have completely different enchantments like regeneration ammo, chance to not consume ammo, always hit Enderman. And then here's the code that actually fires the arrow. It's pretty simplistic code. There's crit checks and everything. That looks good. Cool. So we just return that, and then that should allow us to sight our weapons. If this doesn't work, then we just need a render check. So we need to have a sighted versus unsighted, which I'm going to do anyways. Because as I was talking to my artist Morton, we're going to do like Spaz Shotgun. A Spaz Shotgun has a fold-out armrest on it, so you're going to want to render the armrest folded out when it's sighted, but not when it's unsighted. And there'll be several other guns that'll be like that. And there will also be a check for this RPG in particular. There'll be a check that you have to be sighted to fire it. So if you don't sight, you can't fire. Actually, you know what? There'll be a difference between the two. If a weapon has to be sighted to use it, it'll just force the item in use automatically. But then there'll be a separate call for scoped. So if you want to look down the sights of the RPG versus actually sighting the RPG, then there'll be a secondary call for that. And the right click of your mouse will do the scoped versus unscoped version. So as long as you're holding down right click on your mouse, you'll be scoped in, and you won't get a zoom with an RPG because I don't think any of them actually have a zoom scope. I think all their stuff is like 1x, so it looks almost exactly like you would if you were looking with your eye. The only difference is it gives you a crosshair, so you can gauge where the round's going to hit. It actually gives you a little bit of meter metrics and stuff that goes, okay, if you're aiming at like 400 meters away, aim 2 notches up in the RPG, and I'll do something similar. Although right now I don't think the RPG has gravity. And this version may never have gravity. So the right-click behavior of sighting is not actually working. Let's grab something that isn't this and see if we get a difference. So that's a 3. What the? What the? What? Okay. Something broke. Null point exception. Somehow it's not crashing the game. Okay, so we're getting a stack on overflow error, which is causing a spider that's rendering somewhere else to render where we're standing. Let's hit play. It should fix itself. Yeah, I think it's fixed now. Okay. So we got our gun in our hand. By the way, it's not going to render properly in third person because, yeah, if we hold right click, it's doing nothing. Okay, so either it's not doing the bow action properly or something else is breaking. That was a cool bug, by the way. Always love that when you get those bugs that don't crash the game because everything else will break. You should see my game development stuff. It's always like that. Let's see. So the items should be in use, so we should be getting an item use system. So now we just got to figure out why it's not rendering. Okay, so we got to find code. I feel like there's a actual render system for the bow. So we're going to have to do this instead. So I'm going to have to find usage on this. Oh, sweet. My, whoever the advisor person fixed my class schedule for college. That's good. That's what that email was. He saw me drag off to the side. Let's see. Okay, here we go. So, we can cheat the system. This is basically what this is. Okay, item in use count is greater than 0. Enum using action if bow, aim bow equals true on arm. So we're not getting that method call for some reason. Stack doesn't equal null. See if we're even getting. Oh yeah, we're getting this call. Are we getting this one? Oh. So some reason it's not. It's not getting item and use count properly. Okay, so we're gonna go here. So we're going to have to add some debug lines here to see what's going on. I need to make sure it's actually still cited. So this would be systemout.println setting gun in use, and then we're going to do another one for canceling gun in use. If we reload that, and then we should see down the debug chat when we use the gun and when we stop using the gun. Okay, so it's set in use. But then we're not getting that render method call here. Okay. So what? Okay, it is the correct gun. Get item use count for some reason is not being set properly. So it's set to 0 for some reason. Okay, so I know a way to get around this because I think I know what's happening, but I don't want to mess with it. The item, I think, is being reset in player's inventory every couple ticks, and it's screwing with the data. Because every time you call set inventory and you put a stack in, it's storing the items in use apparently in the stack for some reason. I don't know why. And I don't think it's being saved, so I don't want to mess with it. And I do already have a system here, so I just got to go find my gun render code. Wrong code here. Okay. So these should, in theory, be registered. And I already planned to mess with these anyways. So when you have a weapon sighted versus you don't have it sighted and everything else, it actually modifies the player holding position. Because right now the player, his left and right arm are boxes. They've got literally no elbows, no hands or anything. One of the things I want to correct in future versions here is to actually give him elbows and hands so he looks like he's really holding a weapon. It won't be super complex. What it simply will be is we're just going to segment down the arm a little bit. So it'll still be a boxed hand, it'll still be a boxed arm and everything. But then we'll have a somewhat joint looking system to it, what it looks like he's bent his arm. And we'll do that via pretty much just putting a spline or something right down the middle and then just bending his arm. And then each gun hold system will have a slightly modified model for the player, but just the arms, not like the full player model. And then that would be handled in this code here. What it'll do is it'll de-render the arms, because I've actually found out how to do that, and this is what this code is right here, is I can de-render both of the player's arms. It's amazing. But what we're going to do, I need to see if it's actually still registered. Okay, so item gun render, register, render to the Minecraft Forge bus. So this code is still functional. So what we want to do is if we want to get the gun instance. So I'm going to go gun instance, instance equals, yeah, we're just going to have to cast this real quick. I need to store the item first. Item gun equals that. And that'll save me a little bit of trouble. This is pre, this is post. How the hell did these get... Somehow these got named the same exact... that's just bad coding. It's bad coding on my part, actually. So I want to get gun instance, and I want to pass in the stack and everything else. So we want to make the item stack up here somewhere, so I'm not doing all this bullshit. So this would be stack doesn't equal null, and then stack.get item is instance of this, and then we could just do stack.get item. This needs to be renamed to item. And this will be stack, and I believe event.entityPlayer. That'll give us our gun instance. So we go if instance doesn't equal null. And we go if instance dot is cited. Then we want to do shoot. Where's the render code? Render player. We want this line. No, we want this line. The blocking thing I'll do later. And crap. I want this real quick. Actually, we need to store the render. So, what is it? Render player, render equals event.render. And then we want to store the, I guess the model main. Where, I gotta open this back up. Pretty sure this is where we were just at. Okay. So this is model armor chest plate aim bow. And then they call model armor and then model bicep. Okay, so they're activating all the models at the same time. That's what I wanted to check real quick to make sure I wasn't about to screw up. And let's pray real quick that these are all accessible, because if they're not, I'm going to go have to recompile Forge, and good, they're accessible. Because if these weren't all accessible, then there's a way I can make them accessible, but it's annoying. It involves going in, there's a list you have to then pass in and go, hey Forge, can you make this accessible? Which I'm told they got rid of in some of the newer versions, which is going to be a pain. It means I'll have to go back to reflection, and if reflection is slow. But this should work. And we want to put this down here somewhere, so that way it's out of the way. And if I reload this, and if we go back here, it's not working. Okay, so this code does run. Cool, so that code is running, so we want to go down here real quick. And we want to know when that gets called. So hit play. Hit play, apparently I didn't understand I wanted to hit play. Okay, so that line is not running, which means it's not being set for cited. Yeah, why it's not working? I'm setting cited server side. Oh man, that's gonna be a pain in the. I'm trying to think of how to fix this. Because right now we're holding the gun cache pretty much, I believe, only server side. You know what, let's see if this is being called client side. Because it's called client side, we can run this code both sides. Item mouse button, call this. Okay, so we got the mouse handler. This is player key handler, mouse handle event. Call this, should cancel mouse movement, set cancel to true. Then we send a packet, okay, so we send a packet to server and then we run it client side. So it's being run both sides. That's good. That's what we wanted to know. Cool, so we just need to run this code both sides. And this needs to be run server side only. The rest of this should work properly. That has to run server side only, because if it doesn't, it'll duplicate a ghost item in the inventory. It won't be a real item, so it's not like you can get a free item out of it. But it would confuse the player going like, hey, I got 2 extra clips, and then they'll complain, and then et cetera, et cetera. You get bug reports that aren't real bug reports. But we want to store is cited on both client and server. We do want to store reload on both client and server. That way I can do reload animation client side. It's a good thing I caught this, because then I wouldn't be able to do the reload animations and stuff. But yeah, that's cool. We got our debug line. Oh, I hit play in the wrong goddamn spot. Oh, that's cool. It looks like crap, but it's cool. Of course, that doesn't change a single thing in your first person. So first person, I'm going to have to write additional code to make the items look like you're holding them as different things. But if we do this, so yeah, you know what? That doesn't actually look half bad. I'm going to take a screen. Actually, I'm going to F1 and then hit print screen. Save that for later. Always a good idea to take screenshots of your work, because if you ever get an employer and the employer goes, what have you been doing? It's like, well, I've been doing this, this, and this. And it's like, can you show me pictures of it? And it's like, oh, no, I can't. I can show you code, though. And it's like, but we don't care to see your code. I've legitimately had that happen. And for some reason, this is not working properly. Some reason that thinks it's got a chambered around. Oh, it's failing to update the client. Okay. So we got a difference between the client version and the server version, which means I actually need to go over here, and all this needs to be packet driven eventually. Citing I can do client side. To be honest, I should be able to do reload client side. So what broke here? It's got to be the gun instance. Okay. It updated the gun instance 3 times, which makes sense because you're going to be firing the weapon, which is going to change the chambered round, which means you have to update. You're then going to be reloading the clip, which needs to be updated. You know, I wonder if it's just reloaded 2 rounds. Oh, it's only got 1 round loaded. Okay. So it's not that. It is updating 3 times, which I need to probably put some kind of debug line in here of where it's going to say it's updated the round, or who's actually updating the stack. Because having debug like this isn't actually helping. It's all being run from line 510, which is the update method call. We're actually going to shut this off, and we'll be at record time. So I've got 42 minutes. That means we're just about at the end of this video. So I need the gun instance, which means I'm going to close all these other code pieces. Since we got the least work properly, the only difference is I've got to create code that understands when a gun is sighted versus not sighted, which is going to be tricky-ish. Let's see if I can figure out how to do that. It's got to be it's not in here. There's some render code down at the bottom here that runs. Okay, so we got to do this pretty much. If instance.isCited, then we pretty much want to put like a cited at the end. Or actually, let's not do it here. There's another spot I can do this that would be so much nicer. Yeah, I'll have to do in the gun render system because of the fact that I need, if it doesn't have a cited version versus unsighted version, then you need to use the default render code, or else you're going to get it disappear when you cite it, which would be really anti-intuitive to developers to use. To try to get a gun instance, it's version type. What I could do, so we get our render key here. I pretty much just need to get the key twice. So we're gonna hit string key, and then we're gonna go key plus dot cited, and then we're gonna add a key. And And this is going to need me to get the gun instance though, so I'm going to have to grab this and do gun instance, gun, and do that. Just as a tip, by the way, even though it's called a gun instance, this is actually just going to be pretty much the weapon instance for everything, except for swords and tools. Those will have a separate object because you really don't need to keep a track of your ammo or anything. But these need to keep track of their ammo. So this will be this, and then we need to go if gun.isCited. Then we want to feed. The first entry needs to be the cited one, and the second entry the actual normal one. And what this should do is, because entry 0 is the cited version, if it exists, it'll render that, and then it won't render the second version. Then of course this is your normal render key system, which we can't detect cited because you're passing it a stack. But this should do the trick, and then what I need to do, find the first person equipped version, and I need to make another version of it. Actually, I need to make a couple versions here, and this is going to be annoying. But this needs to be the one that needs to be copied. And then I copy this. So we want our item first. Then we just want to do cited. We're going to redo the empty one here to have it pitch down a little bit. Actually, we can just copy this and we're going to pitch it down. The problem with actually just pitching this down is that if I pitch this, it's going to fuck the y'all up. Let's do our offsets real quick. This is where the other video I recorded before this one actually showed me doing all this. I didn't do all this in the JSON file. I went into the actual render code and messed with all this because it was by far easier. So let's do a 2 here. 2 would be a good starting point. And then we'll go from this data and we'll quickly, I guess, just mess with this stuff. Yeah, I'm just going to do maybe like a 30 on this. And that should do the trick. And then for cited, we're going to render it normally. We don't want to render parts missing. To be honest, if the gun's empty, it can't cite anyway, so we don't need a cited version of an empty gun. The only time you need a cited version is if you still have ammo in it, but your thing is like clip empty, or you don't have a clip in, which means you would have to render something different for this. I need to make more prefabs for this stuff too. Like, one of the things I need to actually do is, you see this part list? Rather than going through all this pain of going a different render type for each one, you could simply go and specify, okay, this part is my ammo, this part is not my ammo. And that way when it goes to render, it goes, oh, well, this is not ammo, and this is ammo, and so on and so on. But I gotta do more code for that before that can do that. That way it'll automatically de-render clips if there's no loaded clips. It'll de-render ammo if there's no ammo installed. Like if you had a belt-fed weapon, it would not render the belt if there was nothing loaded, which is the goal. But this code, I think, should work. Or actually, that's data. I don't know why I keep calling this code. This is actually... there's a term for it. It's not script because there's no actual run logic in here. It's just data, basically, is what we programmers call it. But there's a better term for it than just calling it data. A scheme, maybe? No. It's a structure is what it's called. So it's basically a data structure. This handles all the render code, which is actually pretty cool. Most of you probably aren't familiar with how rendering works, but we did all this. This is every single render state we have for this gun in 127 lines. To just do normal rendering, this is literally like if I want to render equipped, that's the amount I got to do to render equipped. This is the amount first person, and that doesn't include anything you need to do like special changes or rendering model or variations, and I think that it failed to load. expected name at line 73, 73 column 8. 73 column 8. I don't, what? Oh. That would do it. Yeah, the only problem with JSON is like not exactly forgiving. It's more forgiving than XML though, but still not forgiving. I'm tempted to make my own little structure system just for this because I like JSON and JSON's really easy to use, but when you're working with video game stuff and stuff that a user is going to manipulate, you want the most forgiving system possible that would forgive as many errors. HTML is a great example of this. You can mess HTML up to your life's content. It'll still load that web page. It'll still display it. Even if it's broken, it'll display it. Which is really good, and that's kind of what I need. I probably could make a loader for it too. It's not exactly hard. I need to make an HTML style loader anyways here for my wiki builder, so that way I can validate HTMLs before the wiki builder uses them to ensure that they should function properly. It won't exactly crash because HTML is supposed to be a forgiving system, but it'll print out warnings like, hey, your HTML is not formatted properly. You should probably correct this or it's going to display wrong. And that'll be legit of it. And we're hitting about the end of this video. So, yeah, 51 minutes. If this works, even if it doesn't render properly, I'm going to call the end of the video because of the fact we got citing working. We fixed a few issues. I'll probably make some more videos here. I want to start doing tutorials on this stuff. As soon as I finalize my format, I'll do a tutorial explaining how to make everything and how to do pretty much everything from making potion, bullet type systems to guns themselves to ammo. So if we hold right click, okay, so it's working in there. It's not working in there. So item gun render. Well, that's not even calling that method. Probably because the entity is null. Maybe. Or did we not launch in debug mode? Ah, we're not launching in debug mode. That was a waste of time. Like, I almost want to remove the run button from my workspace because I continuously fail to hit the debug button. And what confuses me is because it has to come over here and run on all these configurations, but then it launches debug. And for some reason, the run will be left open, and I'll hit the run half the time. Or do various other things. And damn, I'm out of water too. Anyways, moving on. So some of the other tutorials I'll probably end up doing here as well is I want to do a full tutorial set on how to make items with the JSON system. So that'll be everything. So you'll be able to make swords, tools, dyes, crafting stuff. Like if you want to just make an item for crafting, that's probably the perfect use of the JSON system. It does support OR stuff too, so if you want to do like actual world generating code, it'll support that. Chest loot systems are probably going to be implemented here soon. More complicated tiles are going to be able, like fluid containers is next on the list when it comes after guns. Actually, next on the list is finishing up the block render system, then doing the listeners. Listeners are things that if I like right click a block, there's an object that listens for that right click, and when you hit right click, it runs code. Since you can't do scripting inside the JSON, somebody's going to have to make listeners that do things. So like if you want to open a GUI on right click, you'll specify that you want your tile to have the listener right click for GUI open. Okay, this code's running now. Okay, hit play. Oh, that's working. But the key is gun clip empty for some reason. That's why it's not working. I can fix this. So I just need a second. So what is kind of have failed on here is that it's going to keep popping gun clip empty because it thinks that there's no clip installed, and which it's right, but the problem is it's a manually fed weapon, which means it does not have a clip. So what we want to do is we want to get the gun data. So gun data equals get data stack, and it'll give us the gun data. And then we want to go if dot get reload type, and then we're just going to have to, actually the gun instance already has this code in here, we just need to go get the gun instance and then copy its code real quick. So gun instance has something called is manual fed clip, which just slightly changes its logic. And yeah, you see there's a lot of things here. Like there's three different types of manually fed things. There's hand fed, of course, which is your shotguns and revolvers. Front loaded, which is muskets and RPGs, and then breech loaded, which is bolt action hunting rifles and stuff like that. Cannons, anti-tank rifles. There's a list of stuff. So we just want to make a boolean up here because that'll be the easiest way to do this. So boolean manually fed, and we'll do that, and then this just needs to be replaced with data. And what was that just popped up in the corner? Okay, that's email I'm going to have to read here shortly. Okay, so we just want to go if manually fed. And then that should prevent all this stuff from running here. Technically, this also needs to be down there. And why isn't this formatting? There it goes. So these three variables only run for clips. Clip fed only stuff. And then the gun empty works for everything, because if you have no chambered round and you have no ammo, so that means you not only do you not have a clip, but then you don't have a round in there that empties what is returned. I need to duplicate this code down to the other version because right now I don't have an easy mode button for this. But this will be just changed to instance.is manually fed, and then I just have to copy this code here. I am tempted just to make something that has a Boolean thing, which would just pass in each of these Booleans to it. But the thought process is that the more data we keep adding, the more complicated this list will get and the bigger that will get. So right now, just doing this by hand in 2 different spots is one of the easier ways to do it. But if I reload that, that should fix. Okay, we're still not getting a change in render. Okay, we want not manually fed on both these. Derpy derp. Okay, try that. Okay, still not getting a change. We want to go to our item render, and we want to put this here, and I want to see what our key is. Our key is null. That's not good. Okay, so if our key is null, that means actually if we just want to return cited. So we do this, and then we go else, and maybe that will fix it. Hit play. Cool. It's not what I wanted, but it'll work. So I'm going to call that the end of the video, and I'll make more of these later. Hopefully I'll get this all done, and other things, etc., etc.